This is the Innovation Conversation. I'm Kevin Coupe.
And I'm Tom Furphy.
So we've been doing the Innovation Conversation. We normally do during the year, do it every other week. We've been a little bit less regular about it this summer, just because it's summer. But then there's been a couple of things that have happened over the last week or so, and I just had to talk to somebody. So I reached out to Tom because he'll talk to me. I know he'll talk to me. Um, so there was this story about how DoorDash has decided what they're going to do is create this thing called DashMart. And DashMart is what is essentially a convenience store. I mean, they're going into competition against their retail clients, selling some of the same stuff, some different stuff. And they've just gotten into the convenience store business. That wasn't even their core, and now they've extended into it and are competing against those retail clients. And they're doing, unless I'm wrong, they're doing exactly what you and I have been talking about Instacart doing, except they just came right out and did it. Instacart is sort of below the radar on this. Am I misreading this?
Well, I mean, it's DashMart, which it's a market. It's definitely in competition with their customers. DoorDash had a lot of data, right? They had a lot of data on their customer base, which is quite strong. They were able to see from that data what their customers need and want. They were able to determine from their merchant partners, how the market is at satisfying that demand of their customers. And they saw that, there's an opportunity here that if we actually inventory this stuff and we can create this direct experience, we can do it better. And there's more margin in it. And not necessarily more margin control in it. They can provide the service, get more control over the experience. And yeah, I mean, it's not surprising to see these delivery partners, begin to take advantage of some of these opportunities.
Well, and it probably does have more margin in it for them because they're cutting out the middleman.
Yeah, they're cutting out the middleman. They have a lot of margin. Well, they have a high cost to serve too, but they have just a high margin in their fees, right? I mean, between what they charge the merchant and what they ultimately charge the customer, and maybe even sometimes they upcharge the products. There is a bunch of kind of cost built in. So if they can eliminate that middleman, get products at a wholesale cost, and then be able to deliver them efficiently, the argument, I'm sure the jury's out on how efficient that delivery is at this time. But yeah, I mean, they can cut out the middleman and get more efficient. And as they get more scale, they can get even more efficient.
Well, and the thing is that if they are it'll depend on the manufacturer, but they'll also have the ability then to go out and get some promotion dollars directly from manufacturers who have a limited supply of promotion dollars. And one would assume that in certain cases, the promotion dollar is going to go to DoorDash or DashMart and not to their retail clients. So that, I mean, again, this is the thing you and I keep talking about Instacart, is they have the ability, and you mentioned a second ago, they have the data. Well, isn't that exactly the Instacart issue? They have all the data and are perfectly positioned to compete with their retailers in the same way that DoorDash is now doing.
Yeah, we've talked over the years in this column, both video and written, that the retailers that are the most successful, the ones that are most customer centric, the retailers that maybe over time are less successful are those that focus on the buy versus the sell, right? And so there is a big kind of land grab happening now on the side of the vendor dollars, right? It's more effective ways to use promotion dollars and ways to get more promotion dollars. It's ways to get a hold of the ad dollars, because we have such large engaged audiences now on these digital retail platforms, that they are valuable advertising real estate. I think you're seeing obviously a lot of shift from traditional media, traditional promotion, into these new capabilities and these new upstart players. Now, hard to call Instacart an upstart given the volume and the market cap of the company. But yeah, these guys have, a big piece of their model is monetizing their content and traffic, which is great for these models. It's also, frankly, it's important for traditional retailers to get that right too, because they don't want to lose those dollars. They needed those dollars for their traditional profitability. Even in a brick and mortar environment, your net profit, in your grocery company, your net profit is more than funded by funding coming in from manufacturers. So it's a critical need at retail to get that funding. And now as we switch into e-commerce with a higher cost to serve, it's even more critical to get more of those dollars. So, there's a lot happening there, and these new players are in a very good position to monetize that.
And our old friend Glenn Terbeek, this is always his argument, right? That if you looked at the profit dollars in the traditional supermarket industry, he was making this argument 20 years ago.
Yeah.
If you look at the profit dollars in the traditional supermarket segment, and then looked at the number of promotion dollars put into the supermarket segment by manufacturers, they were really close. And his whole point was that it was the ultimate corruption, small c, in that retailers were not focusing on the customer. They were, as you said, they were making money on the buy, not on the sell.
But it just become a reality of the grocery and CPG mass merchant business that these packaged areas of the store, branded products, even private label, but the packaged areas of the store, so-called the traditional center store, most retailers drive 150% of their total profit from the center store, meaning that services, the perimeter departments in those, they tend to net out, being best case break even. Often, those are unprofitable departments, but the whole equation works. So when you start losing volume from the center store and you start losing funding from the center store, it's super, super costly for these. And that's the stuff that, DoorDash works on restaurants and all that, which erodes from the perimeter. But now that they're working on center store, that could be particularly impactful to retailers.
Am I right that I would think that promotion dollars would be more likely to go to online, to digital, if they can, simply because the data is better. You're able to track a lot more. You can be a lot more effective about it. So in fact, if somebody's able to build a digital competitor to a retailer who's still more focused on the store, in the way that both Instacart and presumably DashMart will be able to, they'll actually have almost a better argument going to the manufacturer to say, no, you ought to be putting your promotion money here because we can tell you a lot more about the people who are buying your products. Am I
Yeah.
Am I right?
No, you're absolutely right. Data is everything. If you can produce data to support it, you're golden. That's where the dollars will go. But traditional incumbent retailers have a massive opportunity because they have a big customer base. They have, in many cases, they have some loyalty data, and they do have some data that they can get started with. And then as they transition volume into e-commerce, they can absolutely crush it with data. They just have to get out there and start doing it.
So let's talk about the other big story that made my head want to explode, which was Walmart deciding they're going to do a pilot with Instacart in 2 markets, in Oklahoma, California. I think it's 3 or 4 different markets within California and Tulsa. And I just could not imagine that, even though and they're going to do same day delivery, how did any of the other retailers doing business with Instacart, and they range from Aldi to Wegmans, and in between you've got Kroger, Albertsons, Costco. How did these companies not say, wait a minute, we're on the same platform as Walmart? How does this make sense for us?
Yeah, I mean, these retailers are participants in somebody else's marketplace, right? This is Instacart's marketplace. These are Instacart's customers. Whether if they're clicking on your retail brand, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you've done a lot of work creating that retail brand over the years, so you're getting a little bit of benefit of that because they're choosing your brand within the brand of Instacart. But Instacart's the real winner here because they're solving the customer need, right? The customer needs your products. They want products from you. You're not cutting it. So, the customer's going to Instacart for it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Am I wrong? Am I being overly paranoid when I say to myself, should Walmart buy Instacart? I mean, let's suppose this is a good experience.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good experience. listen, they spent $3.3 billion on Jet, and now have gotten rid of, basically getting rid of that branding after 4 years. And yet I think you could argue that Instacart would be a much more, a better, and at this point, a more strategic acquisition for Walmart.
Yeah, they'd have to spend a lot more on Instacart than they spent on Jet.
Right.
I think Instacart's trailing market cap was, pushing $15 billion. So it would be a multiple of that. Now, granted, Walmart does have access to capital and capitalization where they could afford that, but it would be a big purchase. Interesting to see what they would get for that purchase. How many of these other retailers would stay on the platform, right?
Well, that would be right. Wouldn't that be the argument? That's what they would do. They would negotiate going in, saying, "Well, listen, we shouldn't have to pay that much money because we're going to lose
right
half of your customers."
But somebody will pay that much, either massive private equity or public, an IPO or something would pay that. But it would be a way for Walmart to, kind of quiet their competition down. I mean, it would, they would put a chokehold on the access for a lot of these retailers to get to the customer.
So, and then the thing that occurs to me is that if and I'm not picking on Wegmans here. I'm just going to use them because to me they're so different than Walmart. They're a great example of to me of in my lack of understanding of why they would want to be working with Instacart. So let's suppose Walmart buys Instacart on Monday. Presumably on Tuesday, Wegmans calls Instacart and says, "We're done here. We're not working anymore." Then the question is, what do they do on Wednesday? Because if suddenly they don't have Instacart because they've put all their eggs in that basket, and without, to stretch the metaphor further, they should go without developing their own chicken farm, and they should they should have their own eggs someplace. Because it just strikes me as so many of these retailers, by doing this deal with Instacart, have put themselves in an untenable position.
Well, haven't you been saying that for the last few years?
Yeah, I have.
But do you feel better now that you got to say it again?
Well, no. Listen. That's a very fair point, and I get more than a few letters from people saying, "Okay, clearly by the fact that Instacart keeps growing, you're wrong. So shut the hell up." And
I know you say, "Well, it's a great model for Instacart."
But by the way, I don't know. I don't think I've been proven wrong yet.
No, exactly.
I still think I'm right. It's just that it may not matter. I mean, at some point,
when doesn't it matter? If somebody acquires Instacart, or Instacart goes public, and then there's a better kind of co-ownership of the customer than we have. I mean, maybe there is a future where there's more collaboration. They're a partner that shares everything openly, and me as a retailer, I get to own that customer or share that customer relationship. And maybe there's a future there. In that case, yeah, you'd be wrong in that case. But is that really where we're headed? I don't know.
Does that ever happen?
No, that's what I mean. I don't think so.
Relationship is built to be very restricted. Like, we own all your data, and therefore we can do whatever we want. Does it ever happen that the relationships gets after 5 or 6 years?
Ways back.
Right, we shouldn't own all your data. We're gonna give those rights back. That never happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so either. but I'd say that is the only way. I think that may be the only way you're wrong. If only if that happens. So, and to answer your question, was Wegmans or whoever do on Wednesday? I don't know. I hope they're all working on what Wednesday looks like. Because, Wednesday, I think for a lot of these guys is ultimately going to, one way or the other, there's going to be a Wednesday reckoning for them when they see X% of their volume getting there, or it gets sold to whoever, and then they're going to have to figure it out.
I think I've now decided what the title of this innovation conversation would be. What happens on Wednesday?
I love it.
There we go. Well, listen, I don't know if we'll be back together before Labor Day. If not, enjoy the end of your summer, and we'll get together shortly after Labor Day, because nobody's going anywhere. So it's all going to be via Zoom. Anyway, that's been this edition of the Innovation Conversation. I'm Kevin Coupe.
And I'm Tom Furphy.
We'll see you next time, everybody.